we are in a time of crisis. Speaking to you from Glasgow, where COP26, the international climate talks, are happening in this moment. What we are collectively witnessing is the start of a climate breakdown, and the effects of climate change are already visible to each and every one of us. We're coming together as a society to discuss how we can stop global warming, to figure out how we can stop this dangerous path that we're currently on. At the moment, our planet has warmed up around 1.2 degrees compared to pre-industrial levels, and we're on track to a roughly 3 degrees Celsius warmer world. The last time we had a 3-degree temperature change was during the Ice Age. So we're talking about change at the scope of an ice age, but not within 10,000 years, but within the next 80 years. And while the effects of climate change are already visible to everyone, climate change is not affecting everyone in the same way. That's why we have to dive deeper and look at the foundations of what causes climate change. And when we do that, we see that climate change is caused by an economic system that's based on the systematic oppression of women, people of color, and the natural world. It's an economic system where nature has no inherent value except for resource extraction, with resources recklessly being exploited for the profit of a few. And let's make no mistake here, climate change is not caused by us all. More than 60% of all emissions are caused by just 10% of the world's population. And that's most of us. It's the richest people in the global north in countries like the UK. Our pets have larger carbon footprints than most people in the global south. But the burden of all of this is again carried by those who are already disadvantaged. Climate change isn't affecting us all in the same way. The impacts of climate change are carried by people in the global south who are now facing the worst impacts of a crisis they did not cause. Droughts, floods, and sea level rise are already having huge impacts, and climate change is now forcing someone out of their home every 2 seconds. By 2050, if we continue like this, our planet will face up to 250 million refugees. But climate change is still not a legally recognized reason to claim asylum under the Geneva Convention. And that's why climate change is an issue of justice. It's not just on a global level, it's the same within the UK. Communities that are poorer and more diverse tend to live in parts of the country with a higher risk of flooding, greater air pollution, and less access to green spaces. People of color are twice as likely to die from respiratory diseases caused by air pollution. People who live in areas with a high risk of flooding are unable to insure their homes or are forced to move there because of the inequalities in access to housing. The UK has the lowest quality housing stock in the whole of Europe, and yet plans to provide carbon neutral, affordable housing have been ditched by the current government. And that's why at this stage, we all need to become agents of change and demand radical action for climate change. Because we've known about this for the last 30 years, but what we've seen and what we see are pledges, but no action. We're seeing commitments that are broken, governments that paint their inaction green, and young people desperately demanding real action. And while 4.3 million people in the UK, million children in the UK are living in relative poverty, the UK government still subsidises the oil, coal and gas industry with £12 billion every year, and just approved a new oil field in the North Sea, making the problem worse every minute. And that's why climate change is not only the single biggest threat to society, it's also a huge opportunity. It's a chance to look at the world through a lens of climate justice and build a transition. We build a transition towards a fossil-free world that tackles the root causes of these inequalities and builds a fair and just system that works for all of us and not just a few.